G'day and welcome to Head Start Sport TV. Thanks very much for joining us for the second edition, where we stay on the theme of rugby, but this time slightly different. We have two guests with us today, and we're going to look at the differences between professional rugby and schoolboy rugby. Craig, you are obviously in the midst of a very busy schoolboy season. How's it going for Boys High so far?
Well, it's gone well. We've already played 14 games, which is a lot more intense than you'd expect for schoolboy rugby. And we've been busy. We've had a lot of tournaments.
And Nick, I can't imagine you'd played 14 games in early May when you were at school.
I think I've played about 5 games my whole matric year. So, yeah, no, it's obviously schoolboy rugby is a lot more professional now.
Craig, when did your pre-season start for this coming season?
It starts quite early. It starts at October already. Almost from the beginning of the end of the season, you start already with the new season. You start off initially with just the conditioning and the training in the gym and that.
When did you guys start your pre-season?
End of November. The last games are the Currie Cup are sort of October, towards the end of October, so we get a good 3 or 4 weeks off.
So Craig, what values do you think you learn being a Boys High rugby player?
Boys High teaches you 3 traditions, and that's good conduct, good sportsmanship and good scholarship. And through this you learn to have a balance on the field.
At the Stormers, what values do you think are particularly important at the Stormers?
Tom, we don't really believe in values, but winning games. That's all it is.
Okay, cool. For the world of professional sport.
In the Stormers, there's a massive emphasis on character, showing character, and I think that's why our defence is sublime. Friendship and not dropping the guy next to you is a massive value that we hold very dear to us.
How much freedom are you given to just play? Or how structured is your rugby?
To be honest, we're not given a lot of freedom to do whatever we want. We have to stick within the structure. But you know, there's always within a structure. There's always room for individual brilliance. Professional rugby, it's 10 notches up. You know, we try and plan as much as we can.
Well, I agree with what Nick said. They have a lot more structure than we do, but I do feel that failing to plan is planning to fail, and that we do put a lot of emphasis on our structure in that. But we do have a bit more room for individual play and talent.
Schoolboys must just enjoy themselves out there, because it becomes so serious. The pressure becomes so much after school.
Is it possible to let the boys play with as much freedom and still get the results, which are becoming even more important these days?
A perfect example of that would be Davy Snyman, who's coaching the Vodacom Cup team at the moment. Instead of concentrating as much on structure and teams, he coached a lot of individual skills. So many of those players have come through. The guys who were able to express themselves at school, Francois Hougaard, Stefan Dippenaar, you know, all those guys, Willie Leroux now playing for Free State Cheetahs, are still playing with that same freedom that they played with at school.
It'd be interesting to hear what coaches have to say about that in terms of the balance between results. What I want to know from you, Craig, is playing a fairly structured game, do you find your guys enjoy it just as much?
They don't have a problem with the structure. That's one thing that we've focused on a lot in the last week or two, is we focus on, we need to get to enjoy the game, remember the reason why we're playing.
Nick, you're coaching Craig's team, and you need to develop a winning team as well as future Stormers. What are 3 things that you focus on?
The first thing I'll do is get the guys to enjoy it. So bring enjoyment into training. I don't think there's any problem with a little bit of structure. I think it's definitely important for guys to know where to go in the field, so that it's not, you know, that old school 8 forwards going to every ruck. It's a part of professional rugby. You know, we have video sessions, and if you make a blatant error or you do something stupid, you know, you'll know about it. And fair enough, you know, we're at a level now where, you know, you can't go on your own.
Craig, you're a young, aspiring rugby player. Do you think you know exactly what your strengths and weaknesses are as a player?
Well, I've been lucky. I went to New Zealand for a bit there and worked there at the Irons rugby training camp, and there I learned a lot about how I play my strengths and weaknesses.
Would you say that you are very aware of your strengths and weaknesses as a player?
Yes, definitely. You know, rugby's become so professional that we have, after the game, we have every single thing that you did on the field with a comment from the coach next to it. You know, so every tackle you made, every ruck, every ball carry, what you can improve, small details like the angle that you run at to a ruck. At the Stormers, we're probably the best prepared side in the Super 15, and I think that is one of the reasons for our success.
Do you know exactly what you need to do in the week or on game day to make sure you're at your absolute peak mentally?
If we're playing the Crusaders, the first thing I concentrate on in the week is to just not throw an intercept pass. and then mentally how I prepare for it. You know, some guys like to get themselves hyped up for a big game. For me, you know, I know my method and what works and what doesn't work.
Craig, for you, do you know what you've got to do?
No, I don't think it's quite as professional. I think we just put on our lucky underpants and hope for the best. But it's always different before inter-schools. You've got all the big brags before the time, all the special things just before inter-schools. I think it's one of the biggest in the world.
So you're sitting in the change room 5 minutes before the Super 15 final. What do you want to hear?
You want to know that, you know, you're leaving a legacy behind, and this is going to have a profound influence on your life. We're doing this for a bigger cause. In 30 years' time, knowing that, you know, the effort that you put in resulted in great friendships, great memories.
Craig, for you?
From what I do as a captain, what I normally do is I go speak to each of the guys individually. I say what I expect of them during the game. You know, what they're best at doing. What I like to hear before a game, either from the coaches or from the guys, is just go out, do your best.